All right, we have a big decision to make tomorrow in Watcher of Realms, guys. Who should you pick as your exclusive lucky pick banner selection? If you do not know what I'm talking about, tomorrow, for the second time ever, we are getting the exclusive pick lucky banner. This is pretty dang important. You will have your choice between any of 10 former limited 200 exclusive guaranteed heroes. The list of these heroes is the following. We've got Captain Reeve, Falcia, Gwendolyn, Lust, Dahlia, Honora, Kagiri, Sun Wukong, Diao Chan, and Moradin. I did that off the top of my head. There are 11 exclusive limited heroes in this game, but the other one is Lady Mina. She is not included on this banner, so we will not be discussing her in this video. However, tomorrow I will release my official rankings of all 11 exclusive limited heroes, ranking them from number 11 all the way up to number 1. And guys, please, if you like what we're doing here on the channel, and really if you like this video is a big labor of love, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We are nearly 100 subscribers away from hitting 50,000. All right, here's the big flowchart. Here's the big list. Let's go.
Fastidious.
Fastidious.
The point of this video, though, and I want to get right into it right now, is to advise you on how to make the right choice. Which hero should you go for? If you already have certain heroes, should you go for Awakenings or should you go for a new copy of the heroes? So I've made kind of a flowchart sheet here. I don't know the perfect term for it, but basically I'm going to take you through the choice order. So what is the order of decisions? So you'll see in a second, I'll reveal it now. The first choice is going to be the following. If you don't have Diao Chan, I'm saying Diao Chan A0, you don't even own one copy, go and pull for Diao Chan A0. However, if you do have her, you go down to choice 2, and you follow this the whole way down, all the way up until choice 19. After that, I think it's kind of a free-for-all. It's kind of up to you. You know what kind of collection priorities and game priorities you have. However, the way you should approach this sheet, assuming you want my advice, is going to be look at the choices from the top. If you already have that thing at choice 1 or choice 3 or choice 5, just go down to the next choice until you find the first thing that you don't already have. So without further ado, let's get into it. Diao Chan is the top choice. If you do not own her, in my opinion, you should go get her. We do have things getting mixed up just a bit with the introduction of Rivenhald. He is going to compete in certain content with Diao Chan for the best inspiration hero in the game. That is very significant. However, there will still be plenty of content where Diao Chan is superior. She is much cheaper. She is a platform unit. She's from different factions. She doesn't particularly overlap with Rivenhald in a lot of content. Certain content, he will be better, but the majority of content, Diao Chan will still be the top choice. She is still, in my opinion, the best non-lord hero in the game. The only argument against her is going to be Valara. They're two very different heroes. I could definitely hear arguments for both sides. But certainly, in my opinion, she is the best exclusive limited hero we've ever had. So if you don't have her, that is the first choice. Choice order number 1, you can see right here, the top priority, if you don't have Diao Chan, go get her. If you do have her though, you have at least one copy, you've got her A0 or higher, move on to choice number 2. That's how you use this sheet. I hope it's making sense now. At choice number 2, believe it or not, I've got Sun Wukong. I am rating getting that first copy of Sun Wukong over getting your first copy of Kagiri. Fear not, Kagiri's coming very soon, maybe even at the next choice. Yes, he is. He's going to be number 3. But Sun Wukong getting your first copy, A0, in my opinion, is just more important. Until you have Kagiri with multiple awakenings, at least 3 awakenings, all the way up to 5, he is inferior to Wukong in almost every piece of content. The only thing he has on Wukong is a little bit of AoE and then buff Dispel. Buff Dispel is not that important in the game right now. Wukong brings some functionality, some utility with his crowd control. He puts out a lot of stuns. He also has cool mechanics with the monkey sage clones he summons. Those can be targeted as last deployed units. Those can soak up damage. Those can be a unit next to Tordor or Rygar or soon to be Khadgrum in content like Abyss 1. It's just more important. And in terms of DPS, out of the box at A0, he is much better. So for the average player, this is your second choice. So if you already have a copy of Diao Chung with no awakenings or any awakenings, the next thing you go to is, do you have a copy of Sun Wukong? If you do, now it is time for choice number 3, and that is going to be getting that base copy of Kagiri. Kagiri at A3 becomes the best single target boss DPS for physical damage in this game. He is very significant. You will never get him to A3 if you don't have a base copy. It is so important you go out there and get your base copy. We have never had a rerun of Kagiri, so I would like to think we will get one soon, but unfortunately, that is not something we can count on. So I think you have to, at this point, if you already have at least one copy, even without awakenings, of Diao Chan and Sun Wukong, it's time at choice number 3 to go for Kagiri. Your next choice is also going to be a fresh unit. That will be Anora. If you have these 3, you might be thinking, oh my God, now I need awakenings for them. In my opinion, there is a clear top 6 in the pool of the limited exclusive heroes in this game, and I think the top priority is making sure you have at least one copy of each, and you're about to see that right now. I think number 4 here, your 4th choice, is going to be Anora. So once you have at least one copy with or without awakenings of Diao Chan, Sun Wukong, and Kagiri, go pick yourself up a copy of Anora. This does come with a big caveat though, because personally, I would pick the number 5 choice above the number 4 choice. So I think for my priorities in this game, I'd rather have Moradin than Anora. However, I think the consensus view in this game would be Anora over Moradin. Let me know if you agree or not in the comment section below. It all depends upon where you are in the game and what you're looking for. For me, I prefer Moradin. He is amazing in Malric's Halls of Illusion. That is one of the most important pieces of content in the game. That is the only true way to take your gear and artifacts in Watch of Realms to an entirely new level. I think it's just so important. And then he can be very clutch for progression, and he's phenomenal in Abyss 1. However, Anora is one of the absolute best AoE DPS units in this game. She has an incredible bond skill with another very relevant unit in this game, Ymerit, and once they have that bond skill, Anora is taken to a new level. She is very relevant in PvP. People still use her a lot on GVG defense. My guild leader has a cultist defense with Anora that has not yet been beaten this season. She's no longer tippy top meta for GVG defense like she used to be, but she's completely usable and honestly borderline elite on a lot of defense comps, even in Overlord. She is very, very good. So for that reason, on the list, I'm giving her the edge, but it depends upon your priorities. And I'll give you a little spoiler for tomorrow. When you see all 11 units, the 10 we're talking about here, plus Lady Mina ranked, I'm actually ranking Anora and Moradin 4A and 4B, because the difference comes down to your priorities in this game. It is also worth mentioning Moradin gives a bond skill to the best non-lord DPS in this game, arguably the best DPS period. That is Valara. The bond skill she gives him is awesome. The bond skill he gives her breaks her in the arena, and a lot of other content if she wasn't broken enough already. The final 6th unit that you should go for once you have at least one copy with or without awakenings of all of these 5, this is going to be the last unit before we start getting into awakenings. This is going to be Gwendolyn. Believe it or not, after her buff, Gwendolyn is very, very good. Previously, she was a terrible healer and a mediocre shielder. Now, all of a sudden, she is a completely goated elite shielder and a half-decent healer. She also brings other cool functionality to her kit. She is an amazing unit for keeping your team alive, and she puts out so many shields. She synergizes perfectly with Rivenhald, who's coming to the game very, very soon, this coming weekend, and that's going to be a very important duo. She is going to enable a lot of endgame things to be possible for certain accounts, depending on what you have, with how she allows your team to not fricking die. And that's how they've been making content harder lately. They're just making it really hard to keep our units alive, regardless of how much damage we're able to deal with them. And she is going to start keeping them alive nearly as well as anyone. She is by far now the best shielder in the game. The buff was very strong. I know it's disappointing to hear that, in my opinion, you should go for a Gwendolyn before hunting Diao Chan dupes, Sun Wukong dupes, Kagiri dupes, and the rest. But honestly, I really think you should. However, and this is the turning point in the video, after these 6, that is when you start moving on to awakenings not getting new copies of heroes you don't own. However, little caveat, if you're a collector, I would still say go for copies of units you don't already have. So maybe go for a Captain Reeve at this point if you do have these 6, but you don't have Captain Reeve. However, I'm assuming a lot of people are watching this video because they want to min-max and they want to improve their account as efficiently and as quickly as possible. So with that in mind, actually, the next option, choice number 7, assuming you already have all 6 of these heroes from choice 1 through choice 6, this is going to be that first awakening, getting your Diao Chan to A1. You will see, though, there's a big asterisk here, and that is not by accident. That is with very, very good reason. And that's because, in my opinion, if you already have a base copy of Diao Chan, but you don't have A1, yes, Diao Chan's A1 is arguably the most important awakening in this game. For sure, it's the best A1 in this game. But you do not need to pick her if you already have the base copy and go get that A1 because you can guarantee that A1 from the current Frostfall Jamboree event. So if we go over here to events and click on the Frostfall Jamboree and go to the Frostfall shop, you'll see on page 4, everyone should clear out this shop easily if you do any kind of daily play or near daily play throughout the Frostfall season, the Frostfall events. You still have basically 4 weeks left, 13 and a half days. You will, at the end of page 4, get a free unpolished soulstone. And for everyone that does not yet have Diao Chan at A1, but you do have Diao Chan, there is no better singular use of a soulstone in this game than getting Diao Chan from A0 to A1. So the reason I have the asterisk is because, frankly, if you have her and you just need to get her to A1, you will get that done with the free soulstone in like 5 or 6 days, maybe 12 days if you're going slow. That's how you get her to A1. If you have her base copy already heading into this banner, you should not select her here at choice 7 to go get the A1. You should just get the soulstone and use it there. But just to be thorough, I did want to include this because if you're watching this in the future, because we have another limited banner, and you want to know what I used to think, I'm sure things will have changed by then with new things coming to the game. But if you want to know what I think at this point, and you don't have a free unpolished soulstone coming to you in a week, then yeah, I would definitely pick her to go get the A1. Now the 8th choice, another awakening, this is the time to go get A3. So assuming you have A1 Diao Chan at this point, or A0 Diao Chan and a soulstone to use on her, and then at least 1 copy with or without awakenings of Sun Wukong, Higiri, of course, Honora, Morden, and Gwendolyn, that's the point, in my opinion, that you settle in and you start going for A3 Higiri. Another little caveat for this list and for my approach, this can be achieved both through pulling and soulstones. So let's say you had an A0 Higiri and you have 1 unpolished soulstone and you already have all of this stuff. In that case, you should pick Higiri's banner and hope you pull 2 Higiris, and then you can take him from A0 to A3, 1 unpolished soulstone and 2 copies of Higiri. Even if you don't have the soulstone, though, and you have A0 Higiri, I would still pick him at this point because getting that 1 copy is going to get you 1 step closer to A3. If you already have him A1, that 1 extra copy will bring him to A2, now only 1 step away from A3. Higiri's A3 is by far the most crucial awakening on this list after Diao Chan's A1, so at choice number 8, once you have all the things from choice 1 through 7, you go for your A3 Higiri. All right, going to go a little bit faster now because I think we're all understanding how this works. The next choice, assuming you have everything above, is going to be A3 Sun Wukong. Yes, you could go for A5 Higiri. I do like an A5 Higiri, but effectively A5 Higiri is just a slightly better but a lot more consistent version of A3 Higiri. It's better, but it's not this huge jump. Going from A0 Higiri to A3 is a jump like this. Going from A3 to A5 is a jump like this. Going from A0 to A3 Sun Wukong is a jump like this. He's way better. It's not the crazy jump that A0 to A3 Higiri is. That's the biggest DPS jump we have in the game. Believe it or not, it is even stronger pound for pound than taking Ingrid from A0 to A3. She would be second. Taking Higiri from A0 to A3 is the biggest change in a DPS we have in this game. It is so transformative. However, going to the A5 is not better than taking an A0, A1, or A2 Sun Wukong to A3, because that is also a very relevant jump in DPS. You absolutely are going to want this awakening next. Now, 10 and 11 I'm going to reveal at the same time because this is definitely up for debate. Going from A3 Kagiri to A5 Kagiri is actually going to be less DPS. Going from A3 Kagiri to A5 Kagiri will actually net you less damage than going from A3 Sun Wukong to A5 Sun Wukong. So why have I ranked A5 Kagiri above A5 Sun Wukong? Simply put, for a lot of accounts, A5 Kagiri is going to be a more used hero as you progress than A5 Sun Wukong. Personally, again, on my account, I would go for the A5 Sun Wukong first because I find him to be more universal, and I just think he's a little bit better globally in the endgame. Yes, Kagiri is still the ultimate boss slayer, but Sun Wukong isn't that far behind. He's still supremely relevant, and he's going to be next to Kagiri in a ton of content. And then in PvP, Sun Wukong is just definitively better. He's better in single target, though you can use both of them. He is definitely better in GVG. You would never use Kagiri on defense, and Sun Wukong still gets play on defense as an Overlord. He's not like tippy top of the meta right now, but like Anora, he's still very, very relevant. So for that reason, I value Sun Wukong A5 a little bit more, especially because his damage jump from A3 to A5 is more significant than Kagiri from A3 to A5. But I think for the standard player, going from Kagiri A3 to A5 is going to give you so much more consistency and a nice chunk more damage, probably 15 to 20% more damage, that it's going to be worth it. But you can make the call there. These are neck and neck. Without a doubt, though, I would not move on to the next 12 choices if you're trying to min-max this thing until you have all of this stuff, and very importantly, the A5 Kagiri and the A5 Sun Wukong. However, once you have that, finally, it is time to move on to a new hero. It is at this point I would suggest you go to an A0 Reeve. Now, with Kagiri, Sun Wukong, and Diao Chan by this point, remember, every choice is made assuming you have everything from the choices above it. So here, you will have the perfect awakening already, the most important awakenings for Diao Chan, Kagiri, and Sun Wukong. At this point, do you hunt for extra gratuitous awakenings? Getting a Diao Chan A3, getting a Moradin A1, then A3, getting an Anora A3. Those are really important. Those are really cool. But I'd rather get a new copy of a very nice unit. This depends on your account, but I think at this point, it is not worth going for other awakenings if you don't even have a copy of the 7th best exclusive limited hero. So at this point, I would go for Captain Reeve. Let's go now to our 13th choice. So at this point, you have Moradin, you have Anora, you have Gwendolyn, you have A1 Diao Chan, you have A5 Kagiri, and you have A5 Sun Wukong, plus an A0 Reeve. Now we're going to go for another awakening. You might have thought I was going to say Lust here, maybe even Falsia. No, at this point, I think you start chipping away at Moradin. Getting that A1 Moradin is very, very clutch. His A1, I believe, is a little underrated, not that much. A lot of people know how good it is, but I think because his A3 is so special, especially in Abyss, and we're about to talk about his A3, that's why I'm bringing it up, but I think his A3 is so special in Abyss that people maybe a little bit lose sight of how important the A1 is for other content. Moradin is an absolute menace in Malric's Halls of Illusion. He's also phenomenal for progression, and that is taken to the next level if you get him A1. He's going to be able to self-heal a decent bit, incredible for survivability, and he's going to put out those enhanced Soul Strike attacks more frequently. It definitely takes him to a new level. At this point on the list, it is definitely a worthy awakening. And frankly, even if you have the A1 Moradin with everything above, at this point, I would already go on to getting that A3 Moradin. So at number 14, this is where you start targeting an A3 Moradin. You might be thinking I could combine these choices into one, but I wanted to explain each one separately. That A3 gets a lot of hype for very good reason. If you don't know, if Moradin is facing an opponent, he has enemies in his attack range, he effectively is in damage dealer mode. However, if he's facing away, he kind of becomes a support, and he gives a ton of rage regen. They call that the charging state. When he is at A3, he can still restore rage and have that support functionality, even when he's not in the charging state. So basically, he's in a baby charging state when he's not in the charging state. When he's in the DPS state, he has a baby charge utility, baby rage restoration abilities, and that is phenomenal. So this A3 is amazing. So many of the top Abyss runs in the entire game are going to have an A3 Moradin, if not higher, and it's because of that awakening. So at choice number 14, go for that A3 Moradin. Now at 15, we finally introduced the 8th hero on the list in terms of rankings. We are going to get our first copy of Lust. Some people might push back on this, but I think this is pretty dang important. She synergizes so well in the Nightmare faction. She is still very good. She's just not amazing anymore, and she's not so special, but she definitely is still good. She gives a very important bond skill to Arrogance. Arrogance is about to be buffed, so you're definitely going to want to have that bond skill if you use him. He's another hero that's been power crept by a couple units on this list, Kagiri and Wukong. They really mess things up for our lovers with Arrogance and Lust. But at this point, if you have all of this above, you have A1 Diao Chan, you have A3 Moradin, you have A5 Kagiri, you have A5 Wukong, and then you have copies of Reeve and Gwendolyn and Honora. Now I'd say go for Lust. Get that one copy of Lust. However, I would not touch the next 2 and final 2 units available on this banner. If you don't know, that's going to be Falsia and Dahlia. Here at choice number 16, if you have everything above, I would go for that A3 Honora. A1 Honora is good, but I didn't think it was worth a call out in the same way that A1 Moradin was. This is cool. She gets a mobilized state. It's relevant. It's just not that long. I like it. It's a great to have. It's not a need to have. The A3, though, especially if you want to use her in high-level defenses for GVG, this A3, her summon, which does the majority of her damage, she does some damage, but her summon labor does more. He is now going to ignore a baseline of 20% enemy magic resistance, so he's going to shred as a standard, as a staple part of his kit, 20% of the enemy magic defense. That's what magic resistance is. That's a really good awakening. Finally, at that point, I say let's get our last 2 units. I like Falsia more than Dahlia, especially with the introduction of Rivenhald. We're going to need some kind of good single-target DPS from the North Throne. Falsia has dual faction in North Throne and Esotericist, and for that reason, I think I'm going to rate her above Dahlia. Dahlia will come next. I do like Dahlia, but yeah, she's just niche, and the niche for her is not really frequently there enough that we need her to fill it, if that makes sense. I like her, but these are really luxury items. Falsia is better for progression, so she got the nudge, plus Rivenhald's coming. She's going to work well with him. Finally, we've got Dahlia, and then at this point, I think you can go for the A3 Diao Chan. A3 Diao Chan is really good, but from my testing, it does not make as big a difference as many people hope it will. I like it. It's good. You'll notice the benefit. It's a lot better than the A2, but I don't think you should target her A3 with this special banner until you have at least 1 copy of every other unit, and then you have A3 Honora, A3 Moradin, A5 Kagiri, and A5 Sun Wukong. So there you go. I really hope this format was as clear as possible. I've put a ton of thought into this, so if you appreciate it, please do subscribe to the channel. I really hope you like it. I really hope it helps. Sorry I couldn't get it out a little bit earlier. Frankly, I thought this banner was coming on Christmas Day, not Christmas Eve. Happy Christmas, guys. Merry holidays. Nailed it. Go subscribe to the channel, please. Give the video a big thumbs up. Share it with your mother, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.